Hey guys, we are back for another Facebook Live. So happy spring. We woke up to a few inches of snow this morning and then sun and rain and we got it all. So anyway, but we, as you guys know, we started last month doing kind of a new layout for our Facebook Live. So we're doing them kind of themed now. So each month we'll have a different department here and kind of have the questions revolve around that department so that we can be a little bit more specific and tailored in the conversation. So joining me today is Chief ONeil, our police chief. So Chief, why don't you take just a second, introduce yourself to everybody in case they may not know you.
My name is Bill ONeil. I'm the Chief of Police. I've been with Sandy Police Department for about 24 years. Started as a road officer, worked in almost every position in the police department, up to the Chief of Police.
Awesome. And was PIO for a while, right?
I was PIO.
So that's why he looks so comfortable in front of the camera today. It kind of feels like a morning news show.
That's right.
I think it'd be a good gig for us, honestly.
Chief and Mayor.
So anyway, so we will be your hosts today. We've gotten quite a few questions coming in over the past couple of days, so thank you for those. If you're tuning in live, feel free to fire away a question or just say hi. And we have our behind-the-scenes crew that'll be feeding us those questions so as they come in. So before we jump in, though, Chief, why don't you take just a minute and tell us, help our residents understand kind of what the police department is, how many officers you have, and what you guys do, and just introduce the department for us.
As you guys all are aware, we're approximately about 23 square miles. And about 97,000 to 100,000 population. Our police department is made up of about 150 personnel total, 113 of those being police officers and the rest civilians, our civilian counterparts. One thing that a lot of people don't understand is that Sandy Police, we have every single division that a major police department would have. We have a detective investigations division, we have patrol, we have administration, we have narcotics, we have SWAT, we have motors. We have everything that a major police department or a major city would have.
I think a few of our residents may be acquainted with our motor officers, so
correct.
We'll talk about that.
But within that, we respond to approximately about 60 to 65,000 calls for service a year. And currently this year we're already at about 14 to 15,000. So we're on track to be a little bit higher, but that's the way it goes.
Job security, I guess, right?
Yes.
Good. Okay, well, thanks for that introduction. So, Jamie, yes, sorry, I'm getting some prompts. We'll try to stay focused on you guys. So, how's our crowd size looking?
We only have 8 people right
tuning
now.
In? Okay. Okay, so as people start to trickle in, maybe we'll start with some of these questions that came in overnight.
Okay.
So, I'll act as narrator, so that way everybody can hear the questions. So I'll ask the question, and Chief will fire away with the answer. So let's start with Don Edwards. So he asked, why do you allow the same guys begging for money on 106 by the freeway exits? It really needs to be stopped.
Okay. This is an issue we've been dealing with for quite some time, several years. What we need is the citizens' help in this. About the only thing we can do is we can cite them for crossing into the median.
Yeah.
They're actually allowed to be on the median, believe it or not. It's considered a safety zone if somebody gets trapped out there.
And that issue was actually litigated.
Right, it has been litigated.
So I think a court has ruled that they can be in the space.
They can.
That's not like a Sandy ordinance or rule that we can change.
And so what we've tasked our officers, and mainly our traffic officers, because it is a traffic issue, a traffic problem, is that if they see them out there, and we see them jaywalking, to get out there, because they cannot get out there any other way, to cite them for that. They are well aware of the officers' interactions with them, because we deal with the same people over and over. The main thing we'd like to get across is, if you want to donate to the homeless shelters.
Right.
Don't stop and donate to these people on the street, because it does cause a traffic problem, a safety problem. Also, we want to encourage them not to be out in the roadway, because it is a danger to them.
Right. I mean, I'm assuming they wouldn't keep coming back if they weren't getting money. So
they do get money. Yes.
Yeah. So we can all do our part as well, like Chief mentioned, to help alleviate that by not donating. But there are plenty of good ways to give to the homeless.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, let's do another one that came in.
Will you answer Brooke's question?
Brooks? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So Brooke DeSosa asked, "Hi, Mayor Bradburn and Chief ONeil. Chief ONeil, I spoke with you a few months back about where the department was with getting CIT training for its officers. You had mentioned it was in the works, which I thought was great news. I was hoping you could give an update on whether or not CIT training occurred and how many officers received the training, and if not, is this still something that will happen?"
Yes. CIT, for those who don't know, that's Crisis Intervention Techniques training. And what we do is we actually certify certain officers to in crisis intervention techniques. All our officers are exposed to it in the police academy. However, to become a certified officer, they have to go through a 5-day class. The state puts on. We have several CIT certified officers, and what CIT does is it helps recognize issues we might be having with somebody in crisis, but specifically mental health issues, so that the officer can recognize that this person has a mental health issue or a mental disability, and they may be acting a certain way, not on purpose, but due to the fact they do have a mental issue. So it's very important to us, and again, all our officers have been trained, have been exposed. We do have certified officers, and what we are currently doing is, as we can get them, we're going to certify more and more. My goal is to have the entire police department certified, but I can assure right now that we do have a certified officer on every single shift.
Perfect. Okay. Well, that's great, and I think as I've emphasized since we came in, training is a big piece of what we want to invest in and put money towards. So you'll continue to see more and more money and resources being put toward any kind of training we can get. So, and I will say a huge shout out to our police department, though. Since I've been here, I've discovered we are one of the leaders, I think, in the Valley in terms of training, not only that we receive, but that we offer to sister agencies. So.
And what people need to understand is police officers have to have 80 hours of training a year. Yeah. Our officers on average are 200 plus hours. And so we are kind of a leader in the state for the amount of training that our officers get.
Awesome. Okay. Perfect. Any live questions coming in?
Nope. Brooke just asked her same question, so she said thank you for answering.
Okay. Perfect. Okay, then we'll just kind of keep moving through the ones that came in overnight. So this comes from Gilbert Rojas. Actually, Gilbert's my around the corner neighbor, and full disclosure, Chief ONeil's my around the corner neighbor too. So this is actually our hood that Gilbert's talking about. So Gilbert asked, "Can we please have more police presence on Newcastle Drive by Quail Hollow? It's especially needed in the morning and afternoon when parents are zipping their kids to and from Albion and Quail Hollow. Cars go way too fast and never stop for kids in the crosswalk at Parakeet Drive. Guard isn't there until Quail Hollow walkers begin heading to school. I stopped for kids one morning only to have the driver behind me pass me on the left as the kids were right in front of my vehicle. This to me is a greater safety hazard than monitoring speed on Highland Drive between Newcastle and Creek Road. Would appreciate your perspective." So, yes, I mean, anybody that lives in this neighborhood, we all know speeding on Newcastle is a big problem. There are 2 schools within a 100-yard radius. So, and this is something I know, and Chief's done traffic for a long time, so I'll let him take it. But one of the things we've tried to emphasize is more traffic monitoring in residential neighborhoods versus our main arterials, like you mentioned, going 7 or 8 over or 10 over on a main arterial is probably not as traumatic as going 10 over on Newcastle. So anyway, I'll let you take it. But.
No, it's a very good point. One of the big issues when we're doing traffic enforcement, and people need to understand, doing traffic enforcement is not just directing traffic and pulling people over. Yeah. It's about saving lives and education. Right. Education is one of the biggest parts of traffic enforcement, especially with issues like Gilbert brought up. One of the most tragic scenes I've ever been on with while I was a traffic officer was a child that was hit in a crosswalk coming home from school and killed. And unfortunately, the violators, if you will, are parents picking up their kids or dropping off their kids. So what we like to emphasize to all parents, I know it's hard. I have 3 kids, and I know it's hard getting kids off to school in the morning, but we really need to be vigilant about getting there and having enough time to get there, and drive slowly, because remember, these kids are friends with your kids, and they're friends, or they're kids of your friends in the neighborhood. And so we really need to be vigilant about slowing down, yielding to the kids in the crosswalks, paying attention, because as we know, a lot of kids, they don't necessarily obey all traffic rules. And so they might jump out in the street, or they might run across the street. And it's not worth, getting your kids to school on time is important, but it's not worth taking a life of another kid.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
we do have a problem, not only in Newcastle, but almost every school zone and every morning. We have our traffic officers out monitoring that, but again, they have to move around. But that would be my plea to everybody, is help police ourselves, pay attention, especially in school zones, slow down.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a lot of these things. I think as a community, together, we can accomplish a lot more than obviously just resting everything on the police department. I mean, I think, what do we have traffic officer-wise? Maybe 14?
We have 6 right now. Correct.
So we have 6 traffic officers. I think last time I saw, we had something like at least 22 elementaries or schools in Sandy. So, I mean, just, we do the math, like Chief mentioned. There's just no way for our... We'll continue to do our best to infiltrate those neighborhoods where we have problems, and continue to send us, if you want specific kind of targeted enforcement, we're happy to look into those. But I think generally speaking, to Chief's point, as a community, if we can all do a better job, just driving less distracted, driving safer, I think that's the best way to achieve that goal.
And I'd like to also throw out that a lot of people don't understand that we have over 400 miles of roadway in the city. And that's basically from here to Las Vegas worth of roadways. And a lot of that's within the neighborhood. So we do look towards the citizens to inform us when they do have a traffic issue, traffic problem. Call into our traffic division. They've got a list, literally a mile long, of traffic related issues. But we also, it's not just the traffic officers that handle those traffic issues. We can assign those traffic issues out to our on-the-road officers. And we also have officers that work overtime shifts just to enforce specific traffic issues.
So please continue to send in kind of those problem areas you're seeing, but let's all try to work together and make it safer. Okay. How we doing, Jamie?
I have a question.
Okay.
So Drew Howells asks, how is Sandy handling the confusion of Prop 2 HB 3001 when it comes...
Sorry, we're going to have Jamie come on camera for a second. Or just, can you come closer? We can't even hear you.
Sorry.
Yeah, asking the question. That's good.
How is Sandy handling the confusion of Prop 2 HB 3001 when it comes to medical cannabis for qualified medical patients, especially when it comes to affirmative defense? Our county prosecutor says he won't prosecute qualifying patients, but he also said it's up to each city jurisdiction. Will Sandy City Police still go after their medical cannabis patients' residents during this gray area time period?
So that's going to be a hard question to rephrase or repeat. Do you want to hand me the book or your computer so I can read it? I don't think anybody heard that.
I have my mic on.
Oh, you have your mic on, so they can't hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. So generally speaking, I guess the question is around medical cannabis and how we're enforcing that. Is that an accurate rephrasement? I'm not familiar with that specific bill.
Well, at this time, like the viewer was saying, it's in a gray area.
Yeah.
And we have not received definitive direction on that. Right now, our enforcement with narcotics is illegal narcotics trafficking, and that's what we're going to focus on. When we get a clearer definition of medical marijuana and how that's being used, then we'll go from there. But a lot of people do ask the police department or ask me, what are you going to do about this law? What are you going to do about that law? They need to remember, police officers, we enforce the law. We don't legislate or make the laws. But it is up to us to interpret the laws as they come down. But with this this proposition, again, until we get a clear definition, our enforcement action right now is just on illegal drug trafficking.
Okay. Okay, Drew. Hopefully that gave you some insight. Okay. Any other?
Brad Carpenter also asked about the homeless people standing on the freeway entrance southbound, if there is a panhandling ordinance. So I know you addressed that at the beginning. So Brad, if you just go rewatch, Chief ONeil addressed that at the very beginning.
That was the first question we tackled. So, okay. So let's see. We'll keep moving through here. Wendy Johnson asked, "Is there any news on the Hawkwood Drive shooting last month?"
Correct.
I'll just let you.
Yeah. Again, this has been a hot topic, and I understand why it is. The Hawkwood Drive shooting, for those who don't know, we had 2 homeowners that were home that were shot in their home from an unknown suspect at this point. I can't talk a lot about the case because it's an active and ongoing case. The case leads us where they will. We are following active leads. We have a lot of active leads. What I can tell the residents out there, it wasn't a random shooting. It was targeted, and the majority of shootings between victim and suspect, there's usually a relationship there. There was no danger to the neighborhood at that time. We determined within minutes. We actually arrived within 4 minutes of the call. It was not a 911 call. It was a glass breakage, an alarm call. So when our officers responded and they arrived, they found 2 victims that had been shot. We immediately canvassed the area, determined there was no suspect. The rest of our officers also deployed to that area, and we cordoned off the scene again. But we determined fairly soon that it was a targeted event, and I can't speak how we determined that, but it's part of the investigation. But there is no danger to the community, and I hope to have a resolution soon that we will be obviously putting out when we get that.
Okay, thanks, Chief. And ironically enough, I think we actually became a traffic distraction out here as someone honked for not going through the light. So we'll try to keep those distractions to a minimum out here. So we'll just keep moving along. Linda Miller asked, why not put a list of crimes on the Sandy website? We need to know. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Amy Bryant does send out, I know I'm on it, but she has an email list that goes out.
We have on nextdoor.com, which citizens can sign up for. They need to contact, if they don't know how to sign up for it, and they can go to our city website. I think there's a link on there. If you don't, though, if you're having problems, contact Amy Bryant, who's a neighborhood watch coordinator. Every month she puts out a burglary report, and then monthly newsletters she sends out detailing all the crimes that happen in the city and where they occurred. We're currently revamping our police website, and that's one of the things I do want to put on there, or at least have a link on there so that you can see what kind of crimes are happening in your neighborhood.
So we're trying to do our best to get the information out there, and probably is a good time to make a shameless plug for not only the city's social media, but the police department itself has its own Instagram account, has its own Facebook page. So, and I know they do a tremendous job of getting out pertinent information as soon as possible via social media. So if you're in a neighborhood and something's happening, for example, like a shooting, I think that's probably one of the best ways to get real-time information as well. So please follow along your guys' social media.
And on that last shooting that we talked about, we put out Twitter, those type of things as well as the traditional media.
So we'll follow up with the emails and whatnot, but I think, as we all know, social media is probably the best way to get the most up-to-date information. So just a couple of comments. Chris Timberman said, thank you guys for everything you do. And Rudy Ramos said, great open communication tool. Thanks, Chief ONeil, for participating.
Thank you.
He obviously had a choice in participating in this. So, okay, well, any...
Another shout out, Carl Roberts says, yes, 2 incredible men, lucky to live in Sandy. Thank you, Mayor and Chief.
Thank you.
Thanks, we appreciate it. Thanks for allowing us to serve. Okay, well, we got a couple more that came in over the week. Bob Kaufman said, the right turn from 9400 South to 90th South, Quarry Bend, has 2 right turn lanes. Given there are 2 through lanes and 2 lanes that end up being right turns, there's some ambiguity as to which lane you're supposed to turn into. Can't tell how many times I've almost been hit there. A dotted line separating the 2 lanes of travel would clear things up. So, I mean, this is, I think I know what you're talking about. It's those 2 right lanes as you're coming up 94th to Quarry Bend and you turn right. And there are those 2 lanes, and it is a little weird. You don't know exactly which lane is yours, and there's like 4 lanes of traffic to turn into. So I don't know if this is, maybe we can talk to our traffic engineers about the way that's laid out. I don't know if you want to add anything.
And just so everybody knows, I understand there are traffic issues and the way things are designed. And I want everybody to encourage everybody to call in when you do see something that's confusing or something that you drive every day, because you're the experts out there. And if you see a problem where you say, hey, this is hard, or every day you have near misses, and this is one that I myself have driven on as well. We did for our traffic engineers. They're the ones who control how traffic is delineated, the speed limits, medians, all those stuff, street lights, stop signs. And our traffic engineer, Brittany Ward, responded. She said the eastbound lanes are striped with dashed lines. SR 209, which is State Road 209, is a UDOT-owned road. They repaint them every year. And for more information, including the paint striping, you may reach UDOT. And she gives a number. It's 975-4900. However, if you still see those, we need to know so that we can bring that up. And if we need to correct something, we can correct those.
Okay. So that's a good point. So we'll, I don't want you to feel like, we're just kicking the can. We're saying this is UDOT's problem. We'll put that in our good ideas folder, Jamie. So we'll follow up on that, see if we can't get, better striping or just a different layout. It is really confusing, and I've seen several people, merging and almost crashing there. So
correct.
So thanks, Bob, for bringing that up. Let's follow up on that, and then we'll get back to you on that.
I have another question.
Yes.
Jill Steed says, why cannot we stop the problem of people running red lights?
I wish we could stop that problem.
Yeah.
If I can talk about this.
Yes, please.
So red lights, it's kind of been a passion of mine as well. What people don't understand, when you run a red light, and again, my plea is to the people driving. Yeah. When you're trying to make that yellow or you're trying to do that, think about the consequences of doing that. A red light crash is one of the most dramatic crashes we have. Because what do? The light goes yellow, we floor it to get through that yellow, so your speed is increasing. And people don't realize that speed is exponential. Right. The amount of damage that occurs on an accident due to speed is tremendous. So the difference between 25 and 30 miles an hour, the damage is going to be huge. Especially in a red light accident, the majority of the accidents are going to be a T-bone type accident. Right. Someone's going to be coming through on the green light, you run the red, you T-bone them into the door. That's where we receive most of our fatalities. So again, my plea would be, if you feel like you're going to run a red light or you need to get through that yellow light, just stop. Yeah. Take your time, because the results are devastating and it's not worth it.
Yeah. No, it's a great point. And I think just in that same vein, we I think hopefully the theme coming out of this is sort of a community approach to policing. So if you're seeing issues, if you continue to see a light that is constantly being run, red, Jill or whoever, please let us know, and maybe we can do some targeted enforcement around that light. But I think generally speaking, we just, again, if we can all try to slow down and it's better to stop at the yellow, almost red, than run it, obviously. So.
Right, and we do targeted enforcement on red lights, and we do red light saturations all over the city.
Okay. So if you're seeing something, just let us know, and we'll follow up on that. Okay. Anything else? Okay. So a couple more. Cecilia Weber said, could you put a 3-way stop at the west end of Pepperwood Drive in 2000 East? I live in Pepperwood and have to pull out into the street to see oncoming traffic to make a left-hand turn from Pepperwood Drive onto 2000 East. The fence for development is impossible to see around unless you pull out into the street past the stop line. A 3-way stop would also slow down traffic. The 25-mile-an-hour zone helps for some, but not for most. Thanks for putting a patrol car there sometimes. It helps when they are there, but people race down 2000 East heading south when there is no police presence. We'd really appreciate a 3-way stop. So, yeah, Cecilia, this has been a hot topic in that area since that Ivory Homes development went in and that fence was put in. So we have, I feel like I've heard about this ever since I came into office. We've tried to remediate it a bit. We did move, Brittany and our traffic engineers did move the stop sign out past the fence a little bit, and we did slow the speed in that area to 25. But I still continue to hear concerns. So we can look at putting a stop sign there. That will go through our traffic engineers as well. I don't know if there's anything you want to add.
No, again, I feel for people. You need to make sure when we do have those with the sightline problems, just proceed slowly. And again, remember, when we're driving, it's our responsibility to drive correctly and to make sure we're seeing these hazards. If they do see a hazard, just inch out. We'll do what we can as a law enforcement department to enforce to remind people and to educate people. But again, ultimately, the person driving needs to take the responsibility to protect themselves as well.
So let me, we'll put that in the good ideas folder too. Let me talk to our traffic engineers about an additional stop sign there. And we'll see.
Did Brittany not comment on this one?
She did.
She did?
Oh, she did comment.
Yeah, Brittany did comment. She said that a multi-way stop warrant study has been completed for this intersection, and it did not meet certain standards and certain criteria. However, I know that when we have these issues that we can go back and relook at them, and so we're going to relook at this one for them.
So we'll have some follow-up on that in the months to come. So thanks, Cecilia, for that question. Okay, Jackie asked, why is it when traffic lights are out along major streets, 106th, 90th, Sandy City Police do not assist in traffic direction? Other municipalities have the police assist with traffic when the lights are flashing. I have never seen Sandy do so.
Okay. We actually do, but we won't do it on every time a light's out. So when an intersection four-way lights go out, they blink red. Yeah. And as we all know, when you come up to an uncontrolled intersection or a flashing red intersection, you treat it as a four-way stop. So four-way stop rules apply. The only time that will re-divert traffic officers is if a traffic issue ensues out of that, meaning traffic's getting backed up, people are not obeying the four-way stop. And that way we will do that. We do that on occasion, especially if it's a major intersection. Generally speaking, if it's a major intersection that goes down, we'll usually have a traffic officer there to help facilitate the flow of traffic.
Okay. This is another opportunity to put a shameless plug in for our CityServe app. So Jackie, and anybody listening, if you haven't downloaded the app yet, one of the functionalities you can do is take a picture. So if you see a light that's out or you see a traffic problem that's brewing, you can take a picture of that and just submit it through the app, and it'll get routed right to our police department, and then we can respond appropriately. So anyway, please let us know if you see an issue at a major intersection and we're not there, we can get out there.
One of the other issues I wanted to bring up that we brought up last week was with CityServe. Yeah. Please sign up for that, not only for the reporting potholes and the street lights, but also it's a communication tool for us. So we can do a notification like similar to reverse 911. One of the issues we have with reverse 911 nowadays is that it goes to landlines. You have to sign up for it. So I want to urge everybody to sign up for reverse 911 and also download the CityServe app so that we can contact you in an emergency.
Okay, perfect. Okay, we're down to our last two. So Zach asked, why do Sandy police feel the need to enforce victimless crimes such as speeding, drug possession, and prostitution?
Okay.
So I'll let you handle that.
Okay.
But I mean, I think as the mayor of this city, it is concerning to me if there are things like drug trafficking and prostitution and even speeding going on in our city. Like Chief mentioned, all of those can lead to deaths and significant harm. So I don't consider those victimless crimes. I don't think the chief does either, but I'll let you speak to
it. And again, we already spoke about speeding and how devastating it can be and how it's exponentially the damage that occurs. So enough with speeding. There are victims of it every single day. People die from it every single day. As well as drug possession and prostitution. They're pretty significant major crimes. And what people don't understand is they think, well, drug possession, I'm just doing drugs, I'm not hurting myself. Yeah. Well, what they need to understand is the drug dealer you bought those drugs from supports the drug cartels and the whole drug trafficking system. And in that system, people are victimized, they're murdered, there's a lot of issues that go along with that. So it is a victim crime. It's not a victimless crime. Same thing with prostitution. What people don't understand is they think the prostitution is, no, it's two consenting adults agreeing on whatever they agree upon. What people don't understand is we have a huge human trafficking problem in the world, especially right here in Sandy. We work cases daily. Our narcotics and vice officers work cases daily on human trafficking. And you got to understand, the prostitute that may be in this is not there by their own free will. They're victims of human trafficking, human slavery, the sex trade, as well as many of them are murdered, and many of them are abused, obviously, every single day.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, we will always continue to try to keep our residents as safe as possible, including these crimes. So, okay, last one from Debbie Jackson. A traffic light needs to be at 94 South and Monroe Street. Traffic from exiting off I-15 flows onto Monroe. The stop signs at 94th and Monroe backs up traffic all the way to Hale Theater. Takes forever to get through that. So, Debbie, I feel your pain. I specifically don't go north on Monroe after work around 5 because of that stop sign issue. So, I don't know if there's anything you want to add, Chief, but I think this is something we could certainly add to our list to consult with our traffic engineers on that. But I don't know if there's anything you want to say.
And again, it's one of those things where if you do know where traffic hazards or traffic congestion exists, choose a different route. If anything, mentally it helps you.
Right.
It might not save time, but mentally it's a lot nicer to drive, be moving than stuck in traffic.
Yeah. So we will. I think I can at least get back to you on whether that's feasible there or not. So we'll do that and let you know. Okay. Any other?
So Connie Carter asks, there is a problem with the parking behind Big O Tires on Green Street. Big O has people parking on both sides of the street with everything from passenger cars, pickup trucks, boxcar trucks, wreck vehicles, boats, and even a transport truck unloading cars. It is very difficult to get out of Harvest Lane and also to make a turn onto 8600 South because the street is narrow and it makes it a visibility very difficult. Why is a business allowed to use a street as their parking lot?
So is this the Big O on 7th? Right there on
Green Street is what she said.
So just north of 90th there.
Right.
So
they use that back.
They use that back. Okay. So I don't know if there's anything you want to add, but the short answer is we look at this specifically through our community development, kind of our permitting process. If there are businesses that are sort of posing a hazard or just a disturbance to our residents, we can look into that. We will. I don't know if there's anything you want to add.
No, I know they use that lot in the back, and I know there's a lot of vehicles parked back there. They're a business, and they do a large volume of business. But if they are using our public streets, I'll have my traffic guys go over there and look at it.
Okay. So we'll look into that further. But we certainly don't want to be have a business causing any hazards for our residents. So thanks, Connie.
So Jacqueline Wildreger wants to know, what are the most prevalent crimes you deal with in Sandy?
I would think, again, that's kind of an open-ended question. We deal with all types of crime in Sandy. The most prevalent that we see that, as far as people are being victimized, are burglaries, and they're crimes of prevention, or crimes of opportunity, and how we prevent them. Whether it's a vehicle burglary or residential burglary or something like that, it's where people do not secure their property, or they forget to shut their doors, or lock their doors on their car, or leave things out in the open. I say this over and over and over. If you have to work out your car, I understand that, but make sure you take everything out of the vehicle so that people can't see what the burglars look for. They're not going to waste time getting into a car where there's nothing for them to take. The days of busting into cars and pulling out stereos, it doesn't happen. What they're looking for computers, purses, cash, whatever, guns, people leave out in the open. Same thing with their home. Remember to always check your garage door. Shut your garage doors at night, because again, these burglars just drive through and they're just victimizing people, and they're taking the time to get these crimes opportunity and say, hey, let's go open the garage door. They look in, they see maybe something they want to grab, they go and grab it, and you're none the wiser. What we do encourage our officers to do is, when they're driving through the neighborhoods late at night, if they see one of these crimes of opportunity, to basically go and wake up a citizen and tell them, shut your garage door, or do you realize your car door is open, or something like that. Again, we need to work together to be able to prevent those. Otherwise than that, again, we see all types of crime in the city, but those are the most prevalent as far as people being victimized.
And then again, it's one of those things where I think as a community we can work together. Keep an eye out for your neighbors. If you're going on vacation, let your neighbors know. If you see people in your neighborhood you don't recognize, those types of things, I think we can all help out as well. So.
Perfect.
Okay, anything else?
Tom Bean wants you to explain how you justify a $150 fine for 5 miles per hour over the speed limit.
Correct.
So I'll let you speak, I guess, maybe to speeding in general, but as far as I know, I think the amounts are set by the
state,
by the justice, by the court system. Right. So we don't control the fine amount, but in terms of speeding, we've kind of mentioned this several times throughout. I'll let Chief speak to that, but But I think any amount of speeding,
Right.
like you mentioned, it's exponential. The reason why 5 over is concerning, or 10 over, it all contributes to being less safe. So.
Right. And what people need to understand as well is, in general, now, can you be cited for 5 over? Absolutely, you can. Do our officers go out and look for 5 overs? No, they do not. Generally, when you're cited for 5 over, it's usually the officer giving you some sort of break. The original speed, they do put it on the ticket, but our officers, I know as a traffic officer and other traffic officers, they're reasonable. If they're in the neighborhood at 25, it's usually 10 miles an hour is the speed limit. So if you're 10 miles an hour over, you're going to get stopped and cited. However, they have the discretion to knock that down to 5 miles an hour over to help people with the fines. If you're on a major thoroughfare, it's usually about 15 miles an hour. Now, can you get stopped for less? Absolutely, you can. They set the window, but again, they're reasonable with that window. As far as the court fines, again, I don't set those. I do realize that it's expensive, and that's why our officers do have discretion on it. So if it's an honest mistake, our officers write probably more warnings than we do citations. Because we want to get people educated. We want people to be aware of what they're doing, but at the same time, sometimes people do need to be issued a citation. But again, we try to make sure that we're being reasonable with those citations.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks, Chief. Okay. Anything else?
One last question is from Peter Cannon. He says, "We love our police force. Thanks for watching over us day and night. My neighborhood sees overnight crime where things are stolen from cars, yards, and garbages. How do you see those crimes being reduced?"
So I think we just, we'll probably refer you back to the comment just a couple before, because I think you touched on it already.
Right.
So just, if you'll just rewind your video about 2.5 minutes, we touched on that. So.
And then Monica Zoltansky just gave a shout out. She says, "Thank you, Mayor Bradburn, for supporting our annual Earth Day." So I think she just wants to give a plug. It's annual Earth Day cleanup on April 27th at 9 a.m. at Wrangler Trailhead for everyone to know.
Yes. So thank you, Monica, for organizing this once again. I think this is our 3rd annual. I know police is there to help out, especially if it might be some homeless camps or whatnot. But please, if you can come out that day to support Earth Day, we'll be cleaning up Dimple Park. So.
And Stacy Parker says, "Thanks for your service, Chief. I come from a family of law enforcement and truly appreciate you."
Thank you. And that's a good point to end on. I come from a family as well of law enforcement officers. We're all so incredibly grateful for our police department and what they do for us. And we're grateful for you as residents for allowing us to serve you. And so thank you. If there's anything we can do better, please let us know. And we will be back next month with another department, and we'll get that information out to you soon so you can start asking your questions. But if you see a police officer, thank them for what they do, and we'll see you next time. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.